Hello everyone. Blizzard just announced another set of patches for the alpha release, um, and it's quite interesting. It's not something game breaking, but we can see the interesting direction in which they're pushing the game. So first of all, resurrection, and specifically taking combat resurrection, is taking a steep change. Um, so it will have charges now, and it will get well, it will. So at the start of the each boss fight, and this mechanics will only work in the raids, you will get one charge of combat resurrection. So if somebody instantly dies, you can res him, and then you will get more charges every 90 slash the right size. So for example, for 10 players minutes, for 10 players it will be 9 minutes, and for 20 players it will be 4.5 minutes to get another charge. So if we're gonna think about average boss fight lasting 6 minutes, if you're 20 right men strong, you're gonna be seeing like two combat resurrections available to you. Is it? I think the numbers has to be tuned, and it's gonna be tuned a bit down, so the 20 men will be able to have like 3 res in the whole fight, and 10 men probably like 2 res. But I think that's the direction. So it doesn't matter how many combat reserves you have. I think all you need to have is one, and as long as he will not die, you're happy um, to use the same amount of combat rest than the other right setups, with, for example, more druids or more warlocks. How it's going to work with the soulstone? So the charge is subtracted when you successfully accept res. So when the person is like being resed. And that's actually pretty interesting mechanics, because if you're gonna use soulstone on the people, it's not gonna like use um, the resurrection cooldown, but you know, when the person dies, he will be able to like to spend the one of the charges. Is it? I think it's a nice compromise. Uh, Outside of the rights, the cooldown will work as normally. So you will have 10-minute cooldown on the combat rest. I don't know how it's gonna work in LFR, because in LFR all the warlocks cast soulstones on random people, mostly themselves. But that's the direction with the combat rest. I can say I like this direction, because it lets you to have a different composition than, like, we need to have two combat reserves unless we're not gonna even touch this content. Um, there's also raid utility changes, and for raid utility changes, it's mostly like stripping and restrict, adding more restrictions to some spells. So druids, tranquility will be only for resto druids now. I think is the big bummer. It kinda is, because it was useful on many encounters, especially in Siege of Orgrimmar, where even a DPS druid could like pop it, or a balance druid could pop it, and people will be healed. And tranquility is not a bad heal. Paladins, devotion aura will be only for holy paladins. I think this is a big nerf to paladins, because having a protection paladin with devotion aura was useful many times. On all of the fights where you have like spell locks, devotion aura, you can say, I'm popping devotion aura. This is the time to pop your like all the shit that you have, and it's not gonna be interrupted. I think that's a big change. It's gonna make holy paladins stronger, and retribution and protection paladins weaker in terms of the value that they bring to the right. But the paladins and druids brings shit tons of utility right now, so I think they want to tone it down. Priest, hymn of home is being removed. That's a nerf to priest, but we need to wait and see how the other, like, parts of the thing will look like. But I think priests are pretty strong in absorptions, and I think they will, even if they say we're gonna nerf it, they will stay with it, and disco priest will have this a lot of absorption. So um, for the shamans, healing tide totem is only for resta, and that's a big change, because enhancement elemental shaman popping healing tank totem, that would be ridiculous in terms of like healing throughput that you can have from people that are DPSing, because totem is actually a smart heal that just takes you one global cooldown. And can be popped in like intermission phase or when you're moving and stuff like this. Warlocks. So warlocks have a big change. First of all, gateway is having 90-second cooldown, up from 60 seconds, but no charges. So everyone can use it each 90 seconds. That's really useful. Healthstones will share a cooldown with healing pods, and you can use only one per combat. Well, that's a big nerf. That's an extremely big nerf to the utility of warlocks. Warriors HP banner is for all of the specs. I don't know. Well, they're restricting everything, but they're extending the HP banner, and it will be 15% of the health, not 20% of the health maximum, and it's going to be for every spec. Well, that's slightly ridiculous. Skull banner is being removed, so warriors are getting more raid utility, and it's exclusive to warriors, but other classes are getting less. So I think it's going to be a warrior expansion this time. Healing. So multi-strike, they went back and reverted the recent changes, and multi-strike works for healers. So when you heal somebody, you have a chance of proccing another spell with the same effectiveness, with the 30% of effectiveness, but the same spell. That's gonna be ridiculous in my opinion if it's gonna work on ticks on HOTS. Because if it's gonna work on ticks on HOTS, Druid can pop insane amount of HOTS. So the chances, so with high amount of multi-strikes, the chances that he's gonna do extra heal with it is enormous. While people that have to cast spells will have, even with like 30% of multi-strike chance, they will have less multi-strikes happening overall, less as amount of multi-strikes. And with healers, we want to have like loads of multi-strikes because probably most of the people will be topped up to the top of the roof with the HP. So the only useful multi-strike is, even if it's a small multi-strike, but on the people that are not topped. I don't know if Blizzard knows about it, but it's gonna work similarly to Warrior's Arms DPS Mastery or a Shaman Ancestral Guidance spell. I think that's multi-strike is really useful for DPS people, yeah, because it does DPS. For healers, it works like extremely different because healing is a different mechanic. But you know, we need to wait and see how it's gonna go to life, because I think it's gonna be changed a couple more times even before the beta. Movement speed. So now it's time to talk about movement speed, and it's pretty simple. If you have a self buff to speed, it stacks with everything, and if it's a ride-wide or party-wide buff to speed, it doesn't stack. You choose the best one. So if you have boots and for example, I don't know, dash, it's gonna stack and you're gonna be super fast. But if somebody will pop a roar and everyone gets 40% movement speed, and somebody will pop like 10% movement speed, they're gonna choose the highest, so 40% movement speed. I think it's a good change because druids were bringing so much utility to the right that it was just ridiculous. Well, I like my druid, but you know, everyone has to be like on the same page, unless the game will be not fun. Items. Now, dodge and parry will be replaced on all the items packed with bonus armor. Yeah, that's bang. That's like the worst thing that can happen because armor scales logarithmically. So you know, throw away all your tanking gear because it's gonna be shit. Plate will have strength and intellect always on it, and mail and leather will have always agility and intellect. So why we have mail and leather? Why not just convert everything to leather and have leather, cloth, and plate? I don't know. Well, that's all for now, and I think you liked. I hope you liked the changes, and I don't know what do you think, but I think the game is going into a really good direction. So, cheers!